It's like embers caught underneath, buried underneath a layer of gray ash. That's how the things that drive us really manifest, not what we consciously think about, not what we are consciously engaged in speaking of, speaking about, arguing, or stating something, or defending something. The thing that is underneath it all are like those embers. What really is instigating, what really is compelling you to carry on, what is really keeping you in the game, as they say. Everyone has some kind of faith, you know. We believe in something. For the person who's after making a lot of money, amassing a large, quantity of wealth, let's say, become successful in their business, they believe in certain things. They believe in whatever they're pursuing has value to them. Similarly, for someone who is seeking other means of gratification, such as looking beautiful physically, that can be their driving force. And they will fight tooth and nails to maintain that, fighting against the fact that things change. They will do everything in their power, just like those who came before that person have striven for thousands of years to maintain their good looks, their attractiveness, their appeal, to be wanted, desired. That's a drive. That's a belief. Something that has value to you. Another person who seeks status, to be accepted in a different way. Prestige. Being someone, somebody. Well, that's also a very old drive, that it's very primal in a sense. To be singled out from the rest as a superior breed of a person, of a being. Some type of an awe that you radiate about you, given whatever the attention is coming at you from people, obviously. So people will defend that. People will seek to have that, maintain that. That's why you have individuals who don't want to leave office when they get elected. They like it so much. The power, the prestige, this, that. These are driving forces. These are, in essence, like those embers that drive us. That keep it warm, in a sense. But they also keep us stuck in repeating things, repeating lives. In Buddhism, it's one of the key principles that it teaches about life is that life ends. Life ends, But that doesn't mean that it's over, done. No, that life in that particular situation with those familiar faces in that setup is over for that person and those individuals involved. Just like the person whose beauty is gone, the wrinkles are there, and forget it. Your skin will never be as it was when you were, let's say, 17 or 20. It's gone. So the principle of impermanence is part and parcel of that, which we call anicca. And the world doesn't accept that, oddly enough. The world that has become, reductionistic in their own justification of their behavior, deduction, reducing things to logic and things that are measurable with some instrument, despite the fact that that individual, that measurer, the scientist or whoever was running that measuring tool, the instrument, is not the same. He's not the same person he was before he took his lunch break. And now he's back. He's not the same person. It's changed. Heisenberg told us this. He revealed this. He experimented with this. Quantum mechanics is so clear on that. Plus, if you have common sense, you know things don't stay the same. But what we do is we still are running on those primal drives, the things that animate us. While refusing to consider the fact that we won't be here forever. At least in this shape, in this form, surrounded by people who know us, love us, hate us. All these conditions won't stay like that, good or bad. They won't stay like this. They will change. And no, this is the issue here that we have, where society has forgotten the importance of maintaining a virtuous life. This is key. Today, you have, for more than a generation, a consistent drive, a consistent momentum to have humanity lose their moral compass. They've tied it to some fundamentalist this, some backward thinking that, anti-science, anti-advancement or anti-civilization, anti-technology, anti. So if you want to be forward-thinking individual living in the modern age, you need to loosen up. You need to let go of your certain inhibitions. Stop being a prude. Stop being backward, etc., etc. So I remember when I was a kid, TV shows were showing up, and I was noticing a trend. And in my 20s, I remember there were shows and movies and things. You can tell. Even in those days, I was like, what's going on? They're pushing the envelope as to how much society could tolerate, how much inhumanity, how much violence, how much hypersexuality, language, And then themes of killing and murder. I mean, you have to be quite slow in the head, dumb in fact, to not see a pattern in Hollywood movies, in Netflix and things like that over the, when I used to watch TV at least, I would just see these shows or hear about them or see them like initially, like, what is this? Why is all of these people so interested in these movies? Like, as a therapist, I would have colleagues talk to me about, Breaking Bad. Have you watched the last episode? Or are you watching this episode? And it's like, no, what is it about? Oh, you haven't watched it? No. Oh, it's about this person who actually goes and a high school teacher, I think he is diagnosed with some type of cancer, and he feels that he's basically an underdog, and he's not making enough money, discarded piece of society, even though he thinks he's very talented, etc., from what I remember. But he's a very good, excellent, in fact, chemist. What? Chemist. But what does he do? What does he end up doing? Oh, he gets into crime. How? Oh, he starts making methamphetamines and drugs. So now what you had were families together, sitting together, watching this quote-unquote cool character. Meanwhile, they're criminals. There's people dying. They are causing the deaths of people. Obviously, they're selling drugs plus. And then you have homicidal maniacs as being the protagonists in other shows, other movies. Series were coming up. So what the writers would do is they would infuse these ideas of putting quirky characteristics, some traits that bind this criminal, this person who doesn't have any morals. But there are certain quirks, there are certain things about him that make him more human to us. Yeah, he's a murderer. Yeah, so, But then he has this other side. Do you see what is happening? They've been trying to lower the bar of how much, until you don't see any difference between the weeds and the roses. They're all mixed together. You can't even see the jasmine. You can't even see the healthy plants that, will help you to survive versus the poisonous ones that have spread. That's how you suffocate virtue out of society. You kill it. When you normalize things, and then you turn the whole society bankrupt. And then you put the attention on those embers that are no longer embers, because now it's full-blown blazing fires. And this is how a society loses its course. Every civilization. In the old days, it was the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, different dynasties of these, different ruling, in China, in India, until it gets into debauchery, where it's so superficial, it's so facetious, it's so thin layered. There's nothing underneath. So what does society do then? You have to constantly change. You have to constantly get, because the attention now people are going to, some people at least, it's going to get so grotesque as it has become this past few years in the world. Flaunting satanic themes, symbolism. Symbolism is all over the place. And no one's noticing. No one's, or at least noticing but not saying anything. We're just taking it. All symbolism, ultimately, underneath it, must have the welfare of human beings. The improvement of existence, the improvement of life. Because you have a lot of things working against you already. Remember anicca I was mentioning? Impermanence? Don't worry, your work is already cut out for you. Death is waiting for each and every one of us. That is certain. The only thing that is not certain, however, is our time of departure. Now, meanwhile, while we are still alive, there's so much that we can accomplish. Good things, not going around and trying to conquer this or that. I mean, you're never going to beat the character called Alexander the Great and his own issues. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted this, this, this. He had some major daddy issues. He wanted to prove that he could become somebody. And his ambition was, that was great in size. His ego was huge. But then what happened? He didn't make it even past his mid-30s. He died. Had his hands chopped off. He advised his people. As they were taking his body in a casket, he said, cut off my hands and let them dangle outside the casket, right behind me. Let them, pull the hands with me. And they were surprised. They said, Sire, why? And he says, because I would be going empty-handed, despite the fact that I have conquered all the lands from Macedonia, Greek lands, all the way to India, which was the world. As far as the world was concerned, that was the world. He conquered it. I'm not taking a thing with me. He couldn't even take his own name with him, or a strand of hair. Nothing. So you won't be able to compete with that. People have done that. Whatever you're pursuing, go ask any billionaire out there. They're never satisfied because the embers are strong, they're powerful. Now you could see them, it's blazing. So what then has to compel us is intelligence applied in the face of realities that we're surrounded by, such as death. This is when our life becomes worthwhile. Now, there's no shame in making a 90-degree turn or 180 from your trajectory to turn around if you're going a certain way, to just change direction. If you understand where you're headed is not good. Why? Because there's this thing called death, and things don't end. The body, this body, as you know it, your identity as such, as this person, will be gone, yes, for sure. But the driving force, the embers you're going to carry with you, meaning the craving, the desires that compelled you to behave in a certain way in this life. So if you had the propensity to get your way, to go after things without caring as to what that does to other people, that tendency will not only take you to a new life, but you will have to face the consequences of the damage you've caused in this and the previous lives. So it's all, in a sense, checks and balances. No one other than ourselves are responsible for what we end up with. In my life, I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, well, why does this thing happen to me? I used to say that when I was injured as a young kid. I had evidence that I had never done anything to anyone. My family, my parents were there. They could, vouch for what I was saying, as I never went and, harmed anyone. But all of a sudden, I am being severely harmed, severed, sent to, almost on the verge of death. I had not done such things to anyone in this life. But it took me about, 20 years or so to realize that. So that's what we share. That's what the Buddha shared with people, and that's what Buddhism still tries to do, Buddhism proper, where you're not putting the burden of responsibility onto someone else, a Buddha waiting for you after death, with open arms, greeting you, accepting you, or some heavenly realm, when your life was not heavenly in this life. I mean, your behavior was not appropriate or a reflection of that which you hope to get. So here is where we each have to ask ourselves, is my action now, or are my actions throughout this year, I mean, everybody's getting ready or have done, New Year's resolutions, things like that. That's a good thing, to have a goal set, But look back to see how many people have you hurt this year in your life, or, how many people have you helped this year? How many have been, just a rough, ballpark figure in your mind if you can, how many people have enjoyed their life a little bit more thanks to your presence there? This involves, at some point, generosity on your part, meaning selflessness from your part, where you're not thinking about, well, what's in it for me? You're thinking about, well, I think if I smile to this person, or if I let this person pass, if you're driving, let's say, or if this person said a rude remark or sent me a bad email, I didn't go ahead and react to it, reciprocating that bad, negative, evil energy. I said, you know what, I'm just going to take one for the team, as they say. Have those opportunities been there? If not, go ahead. This is what I meant by turning a 90-degree angle from your trajectory. Because there is death. Because you look at all these individuals who suddenly, somehow, after living 60, 80 years, they have a change of heart. And they become nicer, they become more docile, or they become, and they behave like it wasn't them. But you have a record of it. You actually were on the receiving end of their behaviors. When they had the power, when they had the youth, when they had the resources, now they don't. Well, it's like those individuals who now no longer get the clout, no longer get the attention. They become a little bit more human. We can suddenly look at their eyes and somehow identify a human being looking back at you. It's not the same machine-like character you knew. Yeah, but I always wonder as to what might happen if suddenly, magically, they regained all those resources they had once in their youth. Would they still remain this person that I'm looking at now, the human being? Unfortunately for many, it won't. They will change immediately. They will go back to the old person they were. Why? Because the embers are still there. That is what's driving the person from life to life. No one else. No one else's actions will drag you into ignorance. No one else's actions will drag you into hell. No one else's actions will take you to a heavenly realm. These places exist. The Buddha has mentioned this countless times. And in deep meditation, through practice, in this practice, one can, if they want to, see and even visit these places. This is not something, magical or, reserved for only certain people. No. But you're here now. That's what matters. To me, that's what matters the most. What are you doing with your life? So when you're making New Year's resolutions, or weekly resolutions, or daily resolutions, make sure that you're adding into your equation a place, have a place there for the emotional quotient, EQ, not the intellectual, IQ. That means make sure that you end up feeling good with something that's substantial. That means nothing will take away that experience of joy. The physical, the appearance, the appeal that you have, the skin, this, that, the way you look, that's all going to be taken away. Money, the same thing. The beautiful house, taken away. Even if no one comes and takes it away, it's just a factor of time. And if it doesn't get taken away, you're going to be taken away. Every breath we take, we know what's happening. We're going to give it up. That's called an exhalation. Life is like that. We never think about the breath that just happened. You breathe in, and then it reaches its apex, and then what do? There's too much CO2, you have to push it out. Then what do at the end of that exhalation? You're desperately seeking, craving for a new gasp of air to come in, hoping for it to be there. Happiness is necessary in our lives. And it's amazing because the Buddha discovered this, the importance of living a virtuous moral life is not for someone else. This is a thing that these people have to think about and consider and really change their lives back into making it. Because everybody wants to be protected. Everybody wants to be treated well, not to be stabbed in the back. If you live an immoral life, sooner or later, the advocacy that you're pushing for individuals to just be and behave any way they want, you do have some standards and yardsticks still. You do have some expectations from those people around you not to stab you in the back, for people not to break into your house, for people to not betray you, cheat on you. Oh, those things are okay, I need them, but the other things we can just push the envelope. No, you can't cherry pick when it comes to an immoral life. So when we are living ethically, morally, virtuous, sound life, we're doing it for our own sake, to be happy, to be joyful. And those around us will be the same. People will feel safe. You will never have a peaceful world when your actions are still immoral, unethical. When you are taking someone's life, when you are lifting your sword, you're carrying a sword to hit someone, to cut someone, to kill someone. You will be cut down yourself, sooner or later, because your intention has brought that about. Action, reaction. So people need to think about the future, because we don't have a limitless amount of time. Each of us, But during that time, what have we done? What have we done? Has it been the focus, the wealth, the seeking of success? I know people who are always drooling at the mouth just for money. Whether they have it or not, that's a different story. Some people work day and night to become millionaires or billionaires. And I ask, what do you, is that going to make you happy? Well, yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Well, how about those billionaires who've already done it? How come they're not happy? Take it easy. Take it easy. And focus on what is really important. And what is important, to my understanding, is the level of joy and happiness you experience. Real happiness. Youthfulness will not bring you that. Money will not bring you that. It will provide you with resources, of course. But money can also be a terrible pit into which people fall. Pit of temptations. Mistakes can open doors for you that you did not want them to be opened at all. Temptations, situations. So the key thing then is to apply wisdom and responsibly live one's life. No one will answer to your actions except for you, ultimately. So your happiness needs to be number one. And that's why you're also looking at someone else and saying, what can I do to actually make their day a little bit better? So in a sneaky way, if you will, there's a subtle willingness or intention for you to be happy at the end. This is not like self-sacrifice for the sake of just, being a masochistic, No, it's a win-win situation. That's the thing. And a person who truly knows and wants to be happy can never harm another, really. And ultimately, those embers will be gone. Things will be cool, fresh, relaxed, happy. And even when we're not here, those around us will benefit from the impact we've had in the world. That's how we can leave this planet in a better state than the one that we found it in when we showed up. As we pass this world to the next generation. So it's a very individual, responsibility-based, wisely executed, intelligently lived life that I'm advocating. It's not, It's common sense. It's beautiful also. And that's what Buddhism teaches, through and through.